Today's lesson is Sweets for My Sweet, How Chocolate Became Connected to Valentine's Day. Hi, everybody. I'm Roger.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kiki.
And happy Valentine's Day, everybody. That is today. And that's the day, of course, you need to celebrate with your special someone. You need to send your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your wife or husband or whatever a kind of gift. And today we're going to be talking about an idea for a gift, chocolate or other kinds of sweets. Do you send chocolates to your significant other on Valentine's Day, Kiki?
Usually no. I'm the one that receives some special sweet treats. But I do like giving my special somebody a card that I would make by myself.
That's very nice. And, of course, boys, you better prepare a special gift for your girlfriend or you're going to have some trouble there. And one idea is to send her a box of chocolates. And the title, of course, is Sweets for My Sweet. So sweets here refers to sweet things like candy or chocolates. You're going to be giving your sweetheart something sweet for Valentine's Day.
That's right. And usually everybody just thinks about chocolate right away. So today we're going to find out how chocolate became connected to Valentine's Day.
Sweets for My Sweet, How Chocolate Became Connected to Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day is just around the corner, and it's the perfect time to express your love to that special someone with flowers, a card, or something sweet. Chocolate is by far one of the most common gifts on this romantic day. But how did the tradition of giving chocolate on Valentine's arise?
大家好，第一部分我们来介绍片语 by far。它表示显然点点点的多，或是大大的，也可以是极为点点点的意思。例如 Mrs. Gwynn is by far the best teacher I've ever had. Gwynn 女士是我遇过最好的老师。又或者说 Of all the cities I've visited in Europe, Paris was by far my favorite. 在所有我造访过的欧洲城市中，巴黎是我的最爱。再来是动词 arise， 意思是出现或是发生，也可以是由点点点产生或是引起的意思。例如 Problems can arise when you least expect them. 问题可能发生在你最没预料到的时候。或是 Your headache probably arises from a lack of sleep. 你的头痛可能是起于睡眠不足。
Okay, it's time for us to talk about the first part of our lesson for today. We're talking about the history of chocolate and its association or connection to Valentine's Day, which of course is today, and it's a day to celebrate the special feelings you have for that special someone. Now, Valentine's Day is just around the corner, and it's the perfect time to express your love to that special someone with flowers, a card, or something sweet. So it's just around the corner. That means it's happening very soon within the next couple of days. In fact, actually today is Valentine's Day. But of course, if you haven't done this already, you want to express your love to that special someone with flowers, a card, or maybe something sweet like candy, pie, cake, or in this case, chocolates.
So when you want to express your love, you want to use different ways to show people that you care about or people that you have strong feelings for how you feel for them. So you want to think of very unique ways that might make them feel like they're very special to you or make them feel like they're appreciated. So what are some of the ways that we can do that? With flowers, cards, and something sweet. And today in particular, chocolate.
Right. Chocolate is by far one of the most common gifts on this romantic day. But how did the tradition of giving chocolate on Valentine's Day arise? Before we continue any further, I'd like to mention that I have been using both the word chocolate and chocolates. Chocolate is the general term, and it's a non-count noun. How much chocolate did you eat today? Oh, I ate 2 pounds of chocolate. But in this particular case, if you're talking about different kinds of chocolate, then you can have it be a countable noun, chocolates, which usually come in some kind of box, and you've got different flavors, and you don't really know what you're going to get.
Right. You can have have cream-filled chocolates or different kinds of chocolate that will come in a box. So there are different kinds, right? So you've got milk chocolate, dark chocolate, and all of that, okay? So a common gift on this lovely romantic day, a day where you can show your love to somebody and maybe even express your love to your crush for the first time, right? You want to give them something special, and it's chocolate. So how exactly did the tradition or the act of giving chocolate to people on Valentine's Day arise? How did it come to be? When something arises, it is to emerge from something, or it is an opportunity or a situation to become apparent to people, okay? So in this case, it is the act of giving chocolate. So when did it start happening? When did people start giving chocolate to somebody?
And also in this sentence, we have the phrase by far, which means by a wide margin. For example, if you're talking about the distance between first place and second place being very large, then you can say that runner won the race by far. The second place runner came in many seconds after the first place runner. Or I could say Mike is the best bass player in Taiwan by far. Nobody is nearly as good as he is. And again, chocolate is by far one of the most common gifts on Valentine's Day. But yeah, how did this tradition arise? How did it come about? Let's move on now to part 2. We'll listen first.
The association between chocolate and love can be traced all the way back to the Mayans, who began brewing chocolate drinks around 500 BC and later used chocolate in their wedding ceremonies. The Mayans saw chocolate as a gift from the gods, and eventually the rest of the world also became familiar with this luxurious treat.
第二部分我们看到动词 brew， 意思是冲煮、冲泡咖啡或是茶等，也可以是酿造啤酒的意思。例如 Jeff brewed a pot of coffee as soon as he woke up. Jeff 一起床就先煮了一壶咖啡。或是Neville brews his own beer at home. Neville 在家自酿啤酒。接下来介绍副词 eventually， 它有最终或是终于的意思。例如 If you walk down this path, you will eventually end up at the lake. 如果你沿着这条小径走下去的话，最后会到达湖边。或者 After some delay, the passengers were eventually allowed to board the plane. 经过一段时间的延误后，乘客们终于被允许登机。再来介绍形容词 luxurious， 它是奢华的或是豪华的意思。可以说 Raymond booked a flight to Dubai and planned to stay in a luxurious resort hotel. Raymond 订了机票飞往杜拜，打算住在豪华度假酒店。
Okay, let's talk about exactly how chocolate became such an important part of Valentine's Day. The association between chocolate and love can be traced all the way back to the Mayans, who began brewing chocolate drinks around 500 BC and later used chocolate in their wedding ceremonies. So the association or the link or the connection between something to something else, and in this case, the link between chocolate and love. So why is it that nowadays when we think about love, we think about chocolate? This can be traced back, or this can go all the way back to the Mayans. And of course, the Mayans, they are a tribe of people, or they are a group of people from the Central American region. And they are the ones with a very long history of dealing with chocolate. So even chocolate or cacao used to be a type of currency for them. So this was something that they hold very important and very dear to them. And around 500 BC, we can see that they began brewing chocolate drinks.
Indeed. So we've got this association or this relationship between chocolate and love. That's just some kind of a relationship or connection between one thing and another. That's what an association is. Or it could be a group of people working together in a company or some kind of organization like the National Basketball Association, the NBA. But here we're talking about the relationship or the connection between chocolate and love. And we can go way back in history to the Mayans. They began to brew chocolate drinks a long time ago in 500 BC or around that time. Now, here we've got the word brew, which means to make something. Usually we use this word to talk about making beer. You can brew beer. We don't brew wine. You make wine. You can brew beer or you can brew tea.
Right. And usually the act of brewing is kind of a longer process, right? It takes time for something to brew. So you want to brew chocolate, you want to cook the chocolate for some time so the flavors can come out. So the Mayans started brewing chocolate drinks, and then they started to use it in their wedding ceremonies. The Mayans saw chocolate as a gift from the gods. So as we talked about a little earlier, chocolate or cacao was something very special to them. It was something of value because they believed that the gods gave it to them. And eventually, the rest of the world also became familiar with this luxurious treat. So eventually basically just means something that will happen over time, for something to change over time. And in this case, chocolate became known to the world and it became something that was associated with luxury.
Right, so here eventually just means in the end or after a long period of time. This is what happened finally. For example, we drove for many hours and we couldn't find a motel, but eventually we found a motel at about 2 o'clock in the morning. But here eventually again means after a certain amount of time, the rest of the world found out about chocolate and they became familiar with this luxurious treat. Indeed, some chocolate from Switzerland, of course, is considered to be among the world's finest. And, of course, there are lots of countries in Africa that produce chocolate as well. So, yes, indeed, nowadays, of course, chocolate can be very common, but it can also be a luxurious treat, which means it's going to cost a lot of money and it's going to taste really, really good.
Right. And usually when something is luxurious, it means it is something that is enjoyed by people, usually people with money, because it's hard to come across. It's something that is described to be very, very high quality. It is something that can be very expensive. And because the process of making chocolate is really hard, it takes a lot of time, so it is expensive, so it's luxurious. And luxurious can also be used to describe something that is of comfort. It's something that is extra. Not everybody gets to experience this thing.
Exactly. And a similar word is luxury, which is when things are really high class, they're very expensive, and only rich people can afford those things. So don't call your Benz or your Rolls-Royce a luxurious car. It probably is, but those kinds of vehicles are referred to as luxury cars. And again, they are cars or things that cost a lot of money, and only a handful of people are able to afford them. But most people can afford chocolate in some form or another. Okay, that brings us to the end of the second part of our lesson. Here comes the third part.
Valentine's Day hadn't been a particularly popular holiday prior to the 1840s, when it became common for people in England to send their romantic partners cards expressing their love. Chocolate's connection with Valentine's was set up soon after by a clever chocolate maker named Richard Cadbury. Taking note of the holiday's surging popularity, Cadbury got the bright idea of packaging chocolates in heart-shaped boxes, decorated with angels and roses. These boxes of chocolate quickly made their mark as a favorite Valentine's Day gift, and people have enjoyed giving and receiving chocolate on Valentine's Day ever since.
第三部分来介绍片语 prior to 意思是在点点点之前。例如 prior to grilling the fish, sprinkle on some salt and pepper for flavor. 在烤鱼之前，先撒上一些盐和胡椒调味。或是 The host is responsible for warming up the crowd prior to the concert. 在演唱会开始前，主持人负责炒热观众的情绪。下一个看到单字 surge。这个动词有急剧上升或是激增的意思。在课文中 surging 为现在分词做形容词用，表示激增的。例如 The surging price of vegetables lays a financial burden on restaurants. 蔬菜价格的暴涨给餐厅带来了财务负担。或是 Profits surged after the advertisement campaign went viral. 在那波广告宣传疯传之后，获利狂飙成长。最后是 make a 或是 one's mark 这个片语，它的意思是成名或是打响名号。我们可以说 Mark Zuckerberg made a mark on the tech industry at a young age. Mark Zuckerberg 年纪轻轻就在科技业打出名号。又或者 The young director hopes to make his mark in the industry with his upcoming drama movie. 那名年轻导演希望能以他那部即将上映的剧情片在业界打出名号。
All right, let's talk about the third part and learn more about chocolate and Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day hadn't been a particularly popular holiday prior to the 1840s when it became common for people in England to send their romantic partners cards expressing their love. So this holiday, or Valentine's Day, it wasn't something that was celebrated by everybody prior to or before the 1840s. When something is prior to something, it means something that is before a certain time period. And basically, it's just another way to say before. So for an example, you can say, I spoke to her prior to our English class.
Or prior to living in Taiwan, Joe lived in Mexico for many years. But in this particular case, we're just saying that Valentine's Day was not particularly popular in England before the 1840s. And during that time in the 1840s, it became common for people in jolly old England to send their significant others, their romantic partners, cards in which they expressed their love. And you said that you send your sweetheart a Valentine's card every year. And, of course, we exchange cards with people in other holidays, too, Christmas and Chinese New Year and stuff like that. And during Valentine's Day, people do exchange cards, and they started to do so in England in the 1840s.
Chocolate's connection with Valentine's was set up soon after by a clever chocolate maker named Richard Cadbury. Now, Cadbury is a very famous chocolate brand that we'll see all over the world, and they have chocolate for pretty much every special occasion of the year. So, this association of chocolate to Valentine's Day was set up soon after this clever chocolate maker. So Richard Cadbury, he wanted to make this connection between Valentine's Day and chocolate, and that way he can sell more chocolate.
Exactly. So he saw a wonderful business opportunity, and it goes on to say, taking note of the holiday's surging popularity, Cadbury got the bright idea of packaging chocolates in heart-shaped boxes decorated with angels and roses. Okay, so he took note of the surging popularity of Valentine's Day. If something surges, it increases in amount or intensity rather quickly. You got to be careful about surging electricity, so you need to have certain kinds of plugs for your computers and things like that. Otherwise, it will totally short out if there's an electrical surge. And here, the popularity of chocolate was surging. It was getting more and more popular. That's what popularity is, the degree to which something is popular.
So the celebration of Valentine's Day started to become popular, or more people started to celebrate this holiday. And that's when Richard Cadbury, he got the idea that if he packaged chocolates in heart-shaped boxes decorated with angels and roses, people will want to buy these chocolate boxes and give it to their significant other, give it to their partners. So it became a gift that they can give to somebody. And these boxes of chocolate quickly made their mark as a favorite Valentine's Day gift, and people have enjoyed giving and receiving chocolate on Valentine's Day ever since. So when something something has made their mark. It means they became something that is very significant, or it became a symbol to represent something. So in this case, it had a very strong and important impact on Valentine's Day. So this new packaging for this chocolate in heart-shaped boxes, because when we think about Valentine's Day, we think about love and hearts and little angels and roses, and this nice packaging is suitable to give to somebody that you like or somebody that you love for Valentine's Day.
To make one's mark just means to be famous, to be noticed. For example, I could say, the young artist wants to make his mark in the world of art. He wants to become famous. He wants to become recognized as a painter or whatever. And chocolate, of course, quickly became popular as a favorite Valentine's Day gift, and people have enjoyed giving and receiving chocolate on Valentine's Day ever since. Indeed, chocolate is one of the more popular kinds of gifts that people exchange on this very special day.
That's right. And sometimes, even if you don't have a significant other, nowadays people like to send chocolate to even their friends, or they exchange chocolate as a way of showing their appreciation for them on this special day.
Or you can just simply buy some for yourself and knock yourself out. Okay, that brings us to the end of our discussion for today. Here comes Hanny.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第二部分有提到 The association between chocolate and love can be traced all the way back to the Mayans. 巧克力与爱情的关联可以一路追溯到玛雅人。好，那文中用到动词 trace 来表达追溯的意思，它可以当及物用或是不及物用，我们就来整理相关的用法。好，第一个 trace 当及物用的话，我们可以用 trace something back to 来表达某事物可回溯到什么，可追溯至什么什么，后面可以接时间、来源或者是原因等等。那也常常会用被动语态来表示 something be traced back to 就可以表达某事物可追溯至举例来说， The tradition can be traced back to the Middle Ages. 这个传统可追溯到中世纪。好，再来我们看到 trace 当不及物用的话，这个 trace back to 意思就跟 date back to 或是 go back to 一样，表示始于什么，追溯至什么。像刚刚的例句也可以把它改写成 The tradition traces back to the Middle Ages. 好，那这边也顺便补充一下 date back 或是 go back 的用法。Date back, go back 都可以表达追溯到什么什么，回溯到什么什么。那他们的第一个用法就是用 date back 或 go back 加一段时间，像 date back 200 years 或是 go back 200 years 就可以表达追溯到200年前，始于200年前。那他们的另外一个用法是 date back to 或是 go back to 加过去的某一个时期、年代或者是事件，像 date back to the 14th century 是追溯到14世纪， go back to the French Revolution 可以表达追溯到法国大革命。好，我们看到课文第三部分有一句提到，巧克力与情人节的关系是由一位聪明的巧克力制造商 Richard Cadbury 不久后所建立的。那文中他用到 set up 来表达建立、创建，是及物用法。那这边顺便补充 set up 及物用法的其他不同意思。像第一个我们可以表达竖起或是立起，像我们说 set up a tent 把帐篷立起来，那就是搭帐篷的意思咯。好，第二个意思可以表达安排策划，像 set up an online meeting 就是安排线上会议。第三个可以表达架设、安装或是装配，常常是指像安装设备啊、机器等等。举例来说 set up the camera 就可以表达架设相机。好，另外如果是 set somebody up 则是对某人设下圈套、陷害、栽赃某人的意思哦。例如 Someone must have set me up 这句就是说这一定是有人陷害我。不过 set somebody up 不一定是这种负面语义，它也可以表达为某人安排，像 set somebody up with a job 就是为某人安排一份工作。好，那以上今天重点整理，我们来回顾今天单字吧。
Arise. Lisa is planning to study in America if the opportunity arises. Association. The association between smoking and lung cancer is well known to most people. Eventually, after being friends for many years, the couple eventually started dating. Luxurious. The rich man lived in a luxurious house near Taipei 101. Surge. Following the announcement of the new product, the company's stock price surged dramatically. Popularity. The video game's popularity was obvious as everyone was playing it.
Well, everyone, today's article has come to an end, and I sure hope you enjoy reading along with us. I am Kiki.
I am Roger.
See you next time.